There we go.
I got to
Uh-huh.
click a little button that says, got it. Good morning.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Doing terrific. How are you?
Good, man. So, how was your trip over to Florida, man?
Let me know if the sun is too much because I'm sitting here in this kitchen and the sun is coming right through this glass at me and it kind of feels good. But if I look washed out, I can do that.
Was
Florida was 99% amazing. The only 1% was because somehow you, my dear friend, and I did not connect. But we will next
no.
time. We will next time. In fact, I might be down there sooner than later, so I'll keep you posted. But I thought our ideas were excellent.
So I
All of our ideas are always excellent, which was to get together and record a podcast together versus from 1,500 miles.
so I learned a few things because I was trying to try different things out so that we wouldn't have to do it through Zoom,
Right?
and I learned some things that are awesome now. I know how to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
So when
Well,
we get together for a live, we can do it.
we can do it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I bought an extra another. I have one SM58, a Shure SM58. I bought a second
Microphone.
one
Okay.
to run through the board.
Well, listen, if you've made that commitment to a second microphone, the least I can do is make a commitment to come visit your studio and we'll do it. I'm sure the
So,
microphone was the same cost as an airline ticket, so whatever, we'll do it.
so I figured because before I was doing this machine that I use, which is the pod track thing,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then what I was doing is my camera, the regular camera that I use to videotape the band when I was playing the band.
Oh yeah.
It has two microphones, like X microphones.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
for the recording thing you did, that always sounded great. Yeah.
so then I had, when I was trying to put it on YouTube, I had two different audio files, one from
Hmm.
the machine here, and one from the camera. And now I figured out how to do that so that it was be perfect, and it wouldn't be on Zoom, so we could do it as long as we want. If you want to do it for 3 hours, I'll finally say, I'm sick of it. Come on, man, I'm sick of it.
You know, we could do another great idea. We could put a questionnaire out to our fan base of viewers, and we'll take like the top 200 votes out of the fan base, and ask them what length they would like the podcast to be, because we're not limited by Zoom if we're together.
So one of the things that I was sad that I didn't get together with you because I really wanted to see you, but you missed out on something important because that Sunday morning we're
Yes.
supposed to move the clocks forward. So the front of my
Oh yeah.
house is where the living room is and stuff, and the garage and whatever, and then the master bedroom, the office, and the other bedroom are on the back.
Rear of the house, front of the house. Got
And
it.
so when Terry came out, she goes, "What's with all the clocks over here?" I says, "Well, I saw something on Facebook. You're supposed to move the clocks forward." So I took the clocks from the other rooms and I brought them into the living room. She goes, "That's not what it's supposed to mean." I says, "What are you talking about? That's what it says. Move your clocks forward." You know what I mean?
I do. Daylight savings, baby. Hey, is this the last? I've heard lots of conversations, something about where this is going away, and someone told me this is the last time we're doing daylight savings.
I don't know, but when I lived in Phoenix, they never changed at the time. I liked it better that way.
Certain places they don't. Correct.
Yeah.
I remember visiting a friend of mine years ago in South Bend, Indiana, home of Notre Dame, and very close to Michigan. And we drove to a friend's house in Michigan, we were in the car for less than 8 minutes. And they were in a different time zone because of daylight savings.
Oh
So
wow.
half the year they're an hour up and half the year they're the same. And it's 10 minutes away. Crazy. But
Yeah.
as I say, the rain's got to stop somewhere, right? So the clock's got to change at some point. There's a line where you cross the line in no time.
So this time the clocks were moved forward, but the next thing we got to
Moving back.
move back. So it says, make sure you turn the clocks back. So last time I tried to do it, I figured, number one, I didn't know where I bought the clock at. I didn't have a receipt. How am I supposed to return the clock? I would bring the clock back. So big
I
hassle.
was already laughing. I was already laughing. I knew you were going on that. Boy, so we were hanging around your area. My son and I, he needed to buy a car. And so we spent last Monday, it's quite the day, running around from dealership to dealership to dealership and trying to find, he was trying to buy a used car, big SUV. And it's amazing how, it was a terrific day, but it was mentally exhausting and the
Oh
ups and
yeah.
downs emotionally of this ride. And we end up, he had met this guy we liked. He liked the car. He filled out the application for the credit online after we left on the phone. The guy's like, I'll call you back in an hour or two. And an hour came and went, and 2 hours came and went. And, I'm thinking, I still hope this guy's calling. And my son is like, man, that's probably off the docket at this point. We'll just keep going. And we ended up in this one dealership, not too far from you, I don't think. I'm not sure we were Tampa or St. Pete, but kind of down that area. And I didn't really like this car. There was a couple of problems with it. The guy was a little shifty, and it was one of these buy here, pay here things with a huge down payment, to get you financed. And he's running these numbers at this desk, and it's running this tiny little office. And all of a sudden, my son's like, "I got to take this call," and he gets up and he walks out. And I go, "He's only doing that for one call." It was the original guy saying, "You're good to go." So we left. The next day, I came home to Mass, and he was doing some running around with paperwork and deposit money. And the following day, he showed up, took an Uber over there, and drove it out. Went right to work, and he's loving it. So that was a fun accomplishment for us.
That's awesome. Yeah, good for you.
I was doing some miles, and we have a new spot. We should have a new sponsor. I want to give it up to Hertz Rent a Car. I always have this anxiety about anything traveling. Like, is it all going to come together? Hertz, I had a reservation, but man, they hit it out of the park for me. I showed up at this little kiosk inside the airport, like baggage claim, but before you get on the shuttles to get where you're going. And I had made the reservation through my local AAA office here in Mass and bought the insurance through them, which was a lot cheaper, which was nice. But when I got to the kiosk, he's like, "Oh, you have an electric car." It was a Polestar, which is Volvo's version of an electric sedan. It's a gorgeous looking car.
Yeah,
but I'm like, I can't have an electric car. I have no way to plug this in. And I'm panicking on the inside, like, here we go. I said, "Can you swap that?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And she changed me for another car. The way it works at Hertz is they give you this, they write on your reservation, show up around how to get to the terminal, and just walk down this aisle that says gold member or whatever, and get in any car you want. They all got the keys in them, and you drive out, and they'll just hit your code with the QR thing and just drive out.
wow.
Like, wow. And she was getting off work, this wonderful woman named Mercedes. Ironically, she's renting me a car, and her name is Mercedes. And I was waiting for the shuttle bus. She gets off work. Now we're in the same shuttle bus going around to the next terminal where I pick up the car. And she's telling me her life story and, how she came to America. And she's been with Hertz for 33 years, I think, and getting ready to retire. And so then she says, "Give me your paperwork." And she walks into the office, doesn't walk me, and she has me and she comes back out and it's scratched out, and she upgraded me from gold to presidents. And she goes, "Take anything in this aisle."
Wow.
So I was driving myself a nice Chrysler 300 sedan for the whole week, and I put some miles. I was out, my son was out probably an hour and a half from me out in Lakeland, and we had dinner Wednesday night and Thursday night. Friday, Saturday, he was working at the golf course. And so I went over to the East Coast, and I had a friend I needed to meet. I needed to host a Zoom Friday at noon, but I was ready to leave from there. And I put the GPS in for this restaurant, oceanfront restaurant in Jupiter, where I've met my friend before, who was a councilman there, actually. And it was 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I'm leaving at 12:45, and I'm meeting him at 3:30. It was awesome. So we had a quick appetizer and a beer, and then I have two friends in Jupiter, and then my other buddy and I went to his house, and we went to a New York Mets spring training baseball game, which was a ton of fun.
Nice.
Spent the night at his house, and then the next day drove down to Lauderdale to visit a good friend of mine, Phil, and his wife Natasha at their place, and I was making the rounds.
That's
It
awesome.
was fun. And then went back over to, they live in St. Petersburg, Sun City. You know where that is? Sun City Park or something?
Oh, yeah,
Near
yeah.
you. This is my dad's first cousin, Kathleen Pfeiffer. In fact, I took my dad down there 3 years ago for her 90th birthday party. My dad had never been to Florida before, and he always wanted to go. So we made that trip happen. And as a result, everybody got back in touch. And so I called her, she's 93 today, and said, I'd like to stop by for a visit. And her son lives there, her daughter's nearby. So we got to their house Sunday afternoon. And my son was with me, and we had a really nice visit. It was, hearing some stories about my dad from her that I'd never heard. She grew up in New York City in the Bronx, so she's got this Bronx accent. And she's been in Florida for decades and decades and decades. But she was telling me when my dad got off the boat, he came over from Ireland. He's 23 years old, and he had 5 years on her, so she must have been 18 or 19. And they all had a party when my dad got there. And she's telling me the details about this party, which would have been in 1949. And it was just stuff I'd never heard before. It was really fun. So, yeah. Squeezed a lot into that quick 6 day trip.
That's awesome.
Got a little color. Might be gone by now because it's 24 degrees here, but try to, try to tan it up quick. That's what we Northerners do. We come to Florida and we overdo it for 5 days because we got to look tan when we come home.
Show me your coffee mug. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Look at that drummer.
Drummer, hold on. Let me tell you. This is the nutritional facts for the drummer. The FDA label. Serving size, 1 rocking drummer. Amount per serving, 2 drumsticks. Percentage of daily value, talent, 1,000%. Unrivaled skill, 500%, passion, 100%, creativity, 300%, off-key, 0%, caffeine, 110%. Not a significant source of quiet. Percent daily values are based on your unique diet. That's funny.
That's awesome.
I like that off-key, 0. I hear Barry and Marco in Stillface talking, we're writing all these new tunes and getting ready for our next CD, and we're having a ton of fun. And we arrange together really well because we just know each other so well. It's a good time. When they start talking notes and chords, I just I have no idea. So I just kind of,
On the 48th episode, I was talking about something. You raised up your mug and you said, "What do you think about this mug?" And I said, "Beautiful." And I went back to the conversation I was having, but you didn't hear that I said beautiful. Something you said, "Well, I guess talking about the mug is out."
Well, I should listen more carefully. Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's why I wanted to make sure that I saw it today. But that's an awesome one.
I should give you a chance. I should give you a chance to respond before I judge you and feel hurt. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. After we're done with it, Terry says, "Why are you crying?" Terry said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Well, because Mike thought I was being rude to him about his coffee mug." So what's the deal? It's like
go back and watch.
on your background. There's like dark light that keeps rolling. What is that?
I know. I keep trying to move. How about if I just go completely out of the sun? Would that work? Probably. Hold on.
Well, you can't
Sorry,
do that.
audience.
You can't do that.
Oh, how's that? Is that too dark?
No, it's better. Yeah, then.
Is it better?
Now that thing's not. Yeah, right now. See, the thing's all gone. Now what was that? Was that like there was activity in the window or something?
Well, because the sun was cutting across me, probably reflecting off all sorts of stuff, and I was just trying to act like I'm back in Florida in the sunlight again. That's all.
Oh. So.
It's funny. Before we recorded, I was on a Zoom yesterday with about 20 people, and I'm participating in the Zoom. My friend Steve is out in Wisconsin. He's running the whole show, and Steve is a dear friend of mine. And he knew about this kitchen bath remodel, but he hasn't seen it because he's in Wisconsin. So during this Zoom call, and I'm on just like this, and he's hosting this, and I get a text from him that says, "Your kitchen looks great."
That's awesome.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, that's funny.
So I remember I told you I was doing the improv group. So I've gone 3 times, and at first I didn't know what I was doing. The second time I was like, okay, but the third time everybody said, "Man, you're doing a great job here." I said, "Well, thank you." So I'm having a good time.
I knew that would be their response. I knew it.
Yeah.
So are you enjoying it as much as they think you're doing a great job?
I like it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What is that? I bet, because I've never done it. I got a good friend of mine who did a lot, and he invited me to a bunch of them, and I never went. And but I kind of feel like I know, like you got a very quick wit and clever, and so I think that's a big piece of that. So I thought
Yeah.
that I knew that they would appreciate you, and I figured you'd probably really end up enjoying it. That's
So
cool.
my friend Mike Posey, the one that I did the podcast with initially,
Yep.
he was he lived in California for a long time, and he was a comedian. He did comedy on stage,
Wow.
and he was really involved in these improv groups. So he's really good at it.
Wow.
We have a good time, we're just awesome. But remember I told you that I was texting to my son in Norway, and I told him that I joined an improv group, but the autocorrect changed it from improv to improve.
Autocorrect.
So when I saw that, I said, "Oh, oops! So it's supposed to be improv." He goes, "Dad, you really should go to the improve group because you'll get better quicker that way. You'll improve more."
Improv is great, but you should go to the Improve group. Speaking of the Improve group, you were very kind. I have been working with my good friend Dan, who is a photographer, Daniel Mark Photography, did my daughter's wedding. He does spectacular work. And video is not his thing, but he helped me. And so I was putting together a video reel of my speaking business. And we worked a long time on it. And then we had to edit it. And finally it's down to 5.5 minutes. And I'm like, well, it's time. Let me see. And I threw it out there on Facebook.
Yeah, and I have it on here. I have it on my notes.
It's on your list.
I was amazed with that.
Well, I got some great response, including from you, and then you were kind enough to then repost it, which means I guess all your people are seeing it. So I felt good about it, and I felt good about the response. I'm going to throw it on LinkedIn. It's also going onto my website, which of course is just my name.com.
Yes, it's awesome. Terry's a motivational speaker. She's a life coach, and she's really good at everything she does. And I showed her that video. She goes, "Wow, that's really good."
Wow.
She was impressed.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you
very
for doing
nice.
that. Let's see.
So the
If
thing
you
with
say I'm good, that's one thing, but if Terry liked it, that's big.
it is big. So the reason why I brought up the thing about the improv thing is because autocorrect changed it from improv to improve. I just found out that the guy that created the autocorrect, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
he just died.
Ah.
May he restaurant in peace.
You're on peace.
Restaurant. May he restaurant in peace.
May he restaurant in peace.
I think I was supposed to say rest, but somehow the autocorrect changed it to restaurant.
That's awesome. Oh, that reminded me. That's so funny. Way back in remember the original Saturday Night Live back in like the 70s, and Chevy Chase was doing Weekend Update. And I still remember this. Actually, Saturday Night Live put out an album, which I probably have in the garage, like vinyl, of a bunch of their stuff from then, but they're not ready for primetime players. That original cast, I could probably name them all. Lorraine Newman and Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin, Dan Aykroyd, Garrett Morris. So Chevy Chase, I still remember this. He talked about the death of, was it this? He was hurt something Dr. backwards, and he was asking, and all he could be heard saying was pleh, which is help spell backwards. I haven't heard that joke in 45 years, and I still remember it.
You remember Jane when we were doing the news and Jane was an ignorant...
Point, counterpoint. Actually, it was count, pointer count. Yes. Jane.
You ignorant. SLUT. That was
Jane.
Yeah.
That's funny. If Jason were here, he would curse on the air and he would curse on our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So this is episode 49, and we got episode 49, and we got one curse on here, and that's not bad.
Yeah, and we actually I trimmed it out. Remember?
Oh, so we got 0 swear words. So we're family friendly.
Really, yeah.
May he restaurant in peace. May he restaurant in peace.
That is funny. May he restaurant in peace. Wow. So the thing with the extreme,
I guarantee somebody watching this is going to repeat that joke this week because I know I'm going to as well.
yeah, the
That's a good one.
the thing there that I was going to say.
Autocorrect?
No, not.
Autocorrect?
Anyway, it'll come to me.
I have been not just listening to this new single from Extreme a lot because wow, it's really, really good. I can't wait. You know, I did hear. I've been watching a lot of different Nuno interviews.
Yeah, yeah.
Eddie Trunk. Eddie Trunk, I don't really follow, but he's a huge rock and roll metal commentator and knows everybody. And I stumbled across his podcast and he interviewed Nuno for, it was 45 minutes about the new, where they're at now, the new album, new single. And I was walking, I do a lot of walking, as you know, in Florida last week. And I listened to that podcast. It was excellent. So I've been listening to some stuff, Nuno talking, and there's some bunch of videos on YouTube I hadn't seen before, a lot about the new stuff. But he did say they're going to be releasing other singles before the album gets released in June. And I'm anxious. It sounds terrific. I'm loving it. And I was texting with our buddy there, and I said, "Man, you're doing a great job. This is spectacular." And they got tour dates coming, so it'll be fun.
So that's what I was going to say. It was about that. The first week, they had over 1 million views.
Yeah, yeah. I saw it.
Are you familiar with Rick Beato?
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but he had a screenshot of him about the Nuno solo.
Yeah, there's a lot of these guys. I saw this other guy who's this music teacher.
Yeah.
Sometimes he grabs somebody's song and he tries to figure it out, live, and then he teaches the class, what the guy's doing. He was blown away by Nuno, and he's like, he had most of it done though, but he says this guy he's definitely the new Eddie Van Halen because this guy, what he's doing, nobody's doing. And what he said to this, I know you'll appreciate this. He said, if you look what he's doing these scores and stuff, but he's doing drop these so that people figure out how he's doing it. But then he says he is so percussive that's what makes him such a great player because he's not just playing notes. He's like he's strumming the strings like muted or something.
Yeah.
And he does all. So the guy was saying, so here's what he's doing now. He's doing this over here, but he says he's also doing, he's doing the drum beat that the Nuno was doing on the guitar.
A rhythm to it.
And I've heard some this since that video came out. I've heard a lot of music guys that are really experts on it. They say that he's a guy now. He's a #1 player. They say it's amazing. And just to find out to realize that I'm the one that taught him just about everything he knows.
Well, thank God for you. That's what he'd be saying right now when he watches this podcast. Come on, Tony, don't take all the credit. Half of it, maybe.
Half of it to me, yeah.
I did see a guy, I think was the name of that. There's an Instagram feed. I think it's Extreme Cast. And I'm in there, and there's a guy on there who played the whole solo, and he figured it out, and he played over the recording of the song so you can hear him. And it's all there. He's like, I haven't polished it up, but it was pretty much all there. And it was like, wow, dude, that's serious because it's been out for 2 weeks and the guys figured this out already. But there's a lot of thousands of guitar players who are like, okay, let me figure this out.
So the Rick Beato, I've watched a lot of his videos because I really like him, and
awesome.
When he does this thing where he does what makes this song so great.
Yeah.
And he talks about good times, bad times, Led Zeppelin, and with John Bonham with the triplets and stuff. And the way he explains it is awesome. So many times I thought I should send this guy a message or something, or an email, and see if he knows anything about, if he's familiar with Nuno.
Mm.
And then I saw that he's talking about Nuno, and he thinks Nuno's awesome, and he is.
Mm.
In more ways than one, he's an awesome guitar player, awesome musician. He's also an awesome person.
Well, you're very fortunate on that end to have that relationship. That's amazing. Yeah. But I've heard you talk about him. I mean, that's all you ever say about him and how giving he is to everybody else. And there's other story that I'm not going to bring up because you can't tell it without crying. I think we did that on this podcast already anyway, but that's cool. I mean, it's neat to see people who are publicly, big and have them really be real people. And it's just refreshing, no matter what industry, to meet some icon in industry and realize like this is just a great person. That's huge.
Although one time I had to tell him off because he stole one of my jokes. So
I'm sure that goes for thousands of people stealing your jokes.
So Generation X was playing in Hollywood, Florida. I'd gone down to Miami to see the Dolphins play against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And then after the show, you go backstage. But usually all the guys, there's like one room with all the musicians are together. But
so this, just for someone who doesn't know, this Generation X was about guitar heroes. So Nuno,
Steve
who was
Vai,
on that? Steve Vai was there.
um,
Zach Wild,
Yngwie
Tobin Abassi.
Yeah, and Yngwie Malmsteen.
Oh, Yngwie, okay.
So all those guys, by the way, are awesome. That talking to them is so easy. But the only one that won't come out to anybody is Yngwie. Yngwie Malmsteen is just doesn't like people or something. I don't know.
Doesn't like people.
But usually they have one big room with everybody. But down in Hollywood, each one of the musicians had his own room for the guests. And so Tosin Abasi was in a room there with Nuno. So Nuno's talking to some people, and I'm talking to Tosin. I said, "Man, that stuff you do on a guitar is just so crazy. How do you do that? Like, it's an eight-string guitar or something he does." And just so he's going on. So I says, "How come you don't have your own room?" And he goes, "Well, first of all, I don't know anybody in this area to invite.
Oh, like nobody would come to my room? I'd sit there by myself. This is Tobin talking to you?
Yeah, but he's saying, no, I don't know anybody here that I could invite to come to be in my room. I'd be alone. Yeah. So Nuno was so kind enough to bring me in, and he says, please, not only that, but people don't even know who I am. They can't even pronounce my name. I says, well, would you get a name like Tosin Abasi? He says, well, it's Nigerian.
Oh, Tosin.
He says it's Nigerian and Muslim. He's from Nigeria and he's a Muslim, so he says it's a Nigerian Muslim name. I says, I can solve your problem right now with people not remembering you. From now on, instead of being Tosin Abasi, you're going to be Tony the Italian, Tony Bassi the Italian. That's what I said.
Tony Bassi the Italian.
Tony Bassi the Italian. He says everybody will remember you. So he thought that was funny, right? So then when Nuno was, he had a little break. There's Nuno, come here. Tony just solved a big problem for me. Nuno says, oh, I can't wait to hear this. So I told him that we changed his name instead of Tosin Abasi to Tony Bassi the Italian. And everybody remembered, so Nuno thought that was funny. And then we were talking about it. So the next day they were playing, Generation X was playing in Clearwater at Ruth Eckerd Hall. And I was there at the show, of course. And what happens, each one of those guys comes out and they do like 20 minutes or more. And then the next guy coming out comes out and does one song with that guy.
Right.
Tosin Abasi's doing his thing, so Nuno came out and did a song with him. And then Nuno said, hey, this guy, give him a big hand because not only is he a great musician, but what he's doing is like, it's not even music, it's like, what did he call it? It's like science or something, because what he does doesn't make sense. He's playing on the 8 strings and he's doing stuff that most musicians would never even think of doing. So he says, give him a big round for Tony Bassi the Italian, my friend. So after the show, I was backstage with Nuno, and says, hey, so now you're stealing my jokes? He goes, oh, shut up, you have plenty of them. But he threw an F word in there too to give him more, more oomph.
Oh, shut up, you got plenty of them.
He says, don't worry about one joke. You have effing tons of jokes. You can give me one.
So I was calling him his first name Tobin. It's Tosin. Tosin Abasi. Abasi. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think a lot of people who attended that Generation X didn't know this guy existed, so that might have been some decent exposure for him. Fun.
There's a national newspaper here in America called the Portuguese Times.
Really?
And when Nuno stole my joke, there's a lady that I know that works for the Portuguese Times. It's a national newspaper. And she called me up and says, hey, I heard that you're good friends with Nuno. I says, oh yeah, I'm friends. We're friends. She goes, well, they're playing in Clearwater tomorrow night, and I'm writing a story about people from the Azores that came to America that made it big, and I'd love to, I'm going to write a story
And
about.
you said, and you said, oh, she must be called to interview me because we got the no Hissy Fit zone.
No, so what happened was, she says, any chance that maybe I could just get a picture of him so I could put it on the write-up, that I'm going to do in the paper? I said, I'm sure I can probably arrange that. So I called Nuno. He says, what are you guys calling me for? You know what to do. Just put him on a list. So her and her husband were there, and we were talking before the show. She goes, man, I love Extreme. I says, well, this is not Extreme now. What you're going to see is, you're going to see Nuno as a guitar player, but there's 5 guitar virtuosos, and they're going to be playing like 1,000,000 notes. It's crazy. So her husband says, that's what I love. I love that stuff. I love that Steve actually knows the other guys, but she didn't know. She thought Nuno was going to be there with Extreme or something.
Right.
So I said, well, see that door right there? When the show's over, just meet me at the door, and I'll get you so you can get a photo. So she thought she was going to get a photo, but no, I got her backstage, with Nuno and stuff.
Like
so
a photo with her and Nuno. Nice.
So her husband and him, and then Nuno's sister Teresa was there. And then Adrian Silva, my drummer when I was with Oyster Bone, was there. So she wanted to take a photo with Nuno, and says, no. We're going to get that photo with all the Portuguese people that are here.
Oh, my goodness.
So then, his sister and the lady that was doing the story and her husband.
Right.
I says, hey, wait a minute. Adrian is my drummer in my band. He's half Portuguese and half Mexican. So Nuno says, get him over here. So there's a picture of us all, and there's one full page of the story about Nuno and stuff that she wrote up. And when I got a copy of the paper, and then I called my mother and said, do you have the Portuguese Times yet? She goes, yeah. I says, go to page 18 or whatever the page was. I don't remember. I says, go. She goes, what? She goes, okay. I says, yeah. I says, look around. She goes, what? I says, look at that picture up at the top. She goes, well, who is it? I says, look. So she says, let me get my glasses. She put the glasses. She goes, is that you in that photo? I said, yeah. She goes, what are you doing there? I says, I'm very famous,
I'm very important.
She says, well, I know you're important, but...
Like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I host the No Hissy Fit Zone. She's like, of course you do.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
That's funny.
Yeah. Huh. Amazing.
Oh, my goodness.
So
we're about to get... I think Zoom is about to finish us off right here.
I was just going to say that it popped up already. So a thing pops up that says you have 10 minutes left or something.
And that was 9.5 minutes ago?
Yeah, we probably have another 5 minutes maybe.
No. I had something good I was going to talk about, but I'm going to wait till next time because I don't want to get cut off. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it, so I'm going to wait and do it next time.
So one of the things I did want to talk about was your video. That was awesome, man.
Thank you.
The video was good, but the information that you were giving out, it was awesome, buddy.
Thank you. I mean, there's a lot of study and work in that, and my own life experience. And when people say motivational speakers, a term people throw around, like, what do you talk about? And I've got like the elevator speech, like I'm talking to people about how they can use their brain to support them versus sabotage them.
Yeah.
And that's. I mean, we've been sitting in front of these types of messages for decades, you and I together, and it's a really important message that it doesn't come naturally. I don't think people just know it, and so that's at least the response I get from my audience is like, I'm an intelligent person, I'm successful in what I do, but I didn't know this.
Right.
I'm just having a blast spreading the word.
So I put on
spreading the gospel.
I put it on Facebook right away because I wanted to share it with people because it was so awesome, and I really respect what you did. It was awesome.
I appreciate that.
If you ever want to, I'd like to see you do it. Is to take some of those little things you're talking about and do one or so in the podcast, and every podcast do some, a little short thing about one of those things that you were mentioning in that video.
Oh, I would love that, because I'm so passionate about this information. I'm sharing it with people, and I think the surprising thing, even for me, is just how simple all this stuff really is. It's just having an awareness around it.
So I don't know if you realize it, but you just said yes. You said that we'll do it. So
I know there's a delay in the audio, but I got to tell you, on my end, I was right on that rhythm right there.
You looked good. I was impressed.
I'm sure it was about a half a second off, and people go, "This guy's a drummer? That's not going to work."
Yeah, so that would be awesome for you to do that in the podcast. You just
I love it. We'll take a
one of
little
those-
clip and yeah.
what did you talk about? Like 5 different subjects or something? 5 different.
I was all over the place. I kind of put together a 55-minute keynote presentation that's got a whole PowerPoint to it, the whole thing. And so there were just pieces from that in there. And ironically, in the video, I was trying to kind of just keep it attention getting, but not really be giving the solution piece. I'm like, I need to hold that back for a live, like, that's why they hire me. What's the answer to that? So we had a lot of fun putting that together. And then, of course, the editing, it's unbelievable. My good buddy, Daniel Mark Photography. Oh, my goodness. Sponsor of the show. That and Hertz Rental Car.
So I can actually take the whole video. I think it's like 6 minutes, isn't it?
5.5, yeah.
Yeah. I can actually put that in bring that in and put it in the podcast if you want me to. Or you can talk about each one of them individually at each episode.
So you're saying I can have the week off and just play the video here?
No, I don't mean that. I mean, it's only 6 minutes. So at the end of the thing, it says, everybody, I want you to hear with my friend Michael Copperwhite, what he does and stuff.
And so, and something, I haven't done it a couple of episodes here, but I would always sometimes bring a quote to our podcast that I'm inspired by. So,
Yeah.
One of the ones I heard this week that I loved, I texted to my daughter. I'm like, this is good. And said, most of our frustration in life comes from the fact that we're listening to ourselves versus talking to ourselves. Like, wow, that's good.
Just about everybody that watches this would say, it's nice to have a break from your stupid jokes, Tony. Now Mike's giving us some good information.
Giving us something we can work with here, for God's sake. Although I'm going to go tell that autocorrect professor joke today, no question. May he restaurant in peace.
Especially if you do it instead of saying it, if you